offspring of Helios, the sun god, who was raised, didn't know who his father was. His mother kept it a secret from him, and then one day he was being taunted at school because all of his schoolmates had, recounting the great deeds of their fathers and everything. So he went home distraught, and finally his mother said, well, actually, your father is the big granddaddy of them all, Helios, the sun god. So Phaeton decides he's going to go and find his father, and eventually does, and he goes to some, celestial realm where his father is located. And the way it is with the Greek gods, they have unlimited powers, except they also have certain restrictions. For example, if a god makes a promise, he or she cannot go back on it, right? So when Helios sees Phaeton, his lost son, come, he's so overjoyed, he says, I'm so happy to see you, I will grant you any boon you want. And Phaeton says, I want to drive the chariot of the sun. I want to drive your chariot. And Helios says, well, I meant anything you wanted except that, So it goes back and forth and back and forth. Finally, Phaeton convinces his father, let me do it. His father says, look, you've got to hang on to those reins tight because those steeds are going to pull away from you. He gets in there, the gates of the sun open. It describes, in the myth, you can go, you can read Edith Hamilton or Bullfinch or any of the great retellings of the Greek myths, and they'll describe it in there. It goes through the signs of the zodiac, and then all of a sudden it careens off and heads down to Earth. And then it describes this whole litany of catastrophes, just setting the Earth on fire. And finally, the Jupiter, at the beseeching of Poseidon, who's afraid that the oceans are going to boil away, gets Zeus to mount his Mount Olympus and hurl his thunderbolt, which knocks Phaeton from the sky, and he falls to earth and falls into the river Eridanus, which is a metaphor for the Milky Way. And his sisters, the Heliades, then weep over the death of their brother, and their tears fall to earth and cause the great flood. Plato then, after referencing that myth, he then says, now this has the form of a myth, but what it really represents is a declination or a declining of the bodies in space orbiting around the Earth, and an eventual falling to Earth of one of those bodies, and a conflagration of all things triggered by the fall of that body.
It's intriguing that he mentions the zodiac, because the Taurid meteor stream is so called because it appears to come at us from the direction of the constellation of Taurus, a zodiacal constellation. That's where those shooting stars, amongst which are some very large objects that have hit us in the past and can hit us again in the future, that's where they come from. They come from that area of the sky.
It's actually an illusion. It appears that they're not actually coming from Taurus.
It looks like that. They come from that area of the sky. Yeah.
They come from that area of the sky. And so anybody in ancient times who was witnessing, and according to the Victor Klube and William Napier and those guys who are the British neo-catastrophists that have been doing all of this work for decades on the Taurid meteor shower, have concluded that, in times past, it was an extremely active shower and would have created some pretty darn impressive light shows, even if it wasn't causing catastrophes down here below. But what they've conjectured is that there might be times of multiple Tunguska-like impact bombardment when because there could be thousands of objects within the Taurid meteor stream on the same scale as the Tunguska object, and that if you go and you read the accounts, the eyewitness accounts, over and over again, people are saying things like, well, it looked like it was being disgorged from the sun. It looked like it was being born out of the sun, right? It looked like a second sun in the sky. Like for a short period of time, the sun had a twin, right? Well, the summertime Taurids are coming from their perihelion passage around the sun. So like Graham was saying, they make an elliptical orbit out to Jupiter and back around the sun in this stream, right? Earth crosses that stream twice each year.